Good morning and welcome to today's Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. I'm glad to have all of you with us. We do not have anyone to deliver the invocation this morning, so in lieu of that, we'll have a brief moment of silence. Thank you. And I believe we have an Officer Napper who's here. If you don't mind joining us and helping to lead us with our pledge, we appreciate that. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Appreciate it. Very good. This meeting is now called to order. John, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Good morning and thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Today's hearing will be conducted with the following process and procedure. Each case will be called in numerical order. When each case is called, we would ask the applicant to stand and signify that they are here so they can be counted for the record. Then we're going to call to see if anyone here is opposed to the case in person. We would ask that the person opposed would stand up and raise their hand so they can be counted for the record. After recognizing the applicant and any opposition, both parties will be asked to come forward and be sworn in so they can present testimony to the Board of Commissioners. It's important to note that the applicant will testify first, and then the opposition, if any, will testify second. Each side gets 10 minutes to state their case of concerns. There's not a rebuttal process, and there's not a process to reserve your time, so convey all your information to the board within your 10-minute time period. Additionally, if more than one person wishes to speak on a case, you may want to coordinate with each other about what you're going to discuss, because you don't want to cover the same information twice, because everyone on that side only gets 10 minutes. Then after both sides have had their 10-minute presentation period, the board will start to discuss the case at hand. For the discussion, they may ask one or more of the speakers to come back to the front for questions or comments. And after that, the board will make a decision to either approve, deny, hold, or continue the case at hand. Today's hearing will be conducted in person and virtually. For the folks participating virtually, I'm going to explain to you how that process is going to work. For the folks signed in online to speak or to oppose a case, as each case is presented, we will recognize those on-site and virtual and support and oppose to a specific case. For virtual attendees, to support or oppose a case, you want to indicate, or if you want to indicate you want to speak concerning a case, you'll type in the following process. So to support a case, you would type in SUP to support, and then the case number. Also, if you would like to support a case and also speak, you would want to type in SUP, then the case number, and speak into your Q&A box. The process for opposing the case is pretty similar. To oppose a case, you would want to type in OPP and then the case number. If you would like to also speak on a case that you're opposed to, you would want to type in OPP, case number, and then speak. The speakers will be called by name. Your line will be unmuted. You will say your name, where you live, and you will affirm that you've been sworn in. I do want to ask the people in today's audience, if you have a cell phone, please turn your cell phones on mute, as the ringing doesn't interfere with the broadcast and presentations. And any person wishing to speak before the Board of Commissioners must file a campaign contribution disclosure statement. If within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of a rezoning application, a campaign contribution totaling $250 more is made to a current member of the Board of Commissioners. Additional information about this requirement is located on the table in the back of the room. And I want to remind applicants, opposition, or any interested party that information is due to this board the Wednesday prior to this hearing. Any information submitted after the Wednesday due date may or may not be considered by the board at their discretion. Madam Chair and Board, there are 2 cases on today's printed agenda which have been withdrawn and will not be heard today. First case is LEP 5 of 2021, Anisha Thomas. That case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. And the second case is other business item number 7 of 2021, Civil Consulting Engineers Incorporated. This case was withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Additionally, there are a number of cases on today's printed agenda which have been continued. I'm going to read those into the record. First case is rezoning case Z39 of 2020, KO Management Incorporated. This case was held by the Planning Commission until their March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing, so Z39 of 2020 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z52 of 2020, Carl Edward Dills. This case was continued by the staff from the February 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z52 of 2020 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z59 of 2020, Tamina A. Patwari. This case was continued by the staff until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z59 of 2020 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z61 of 2020, Greenline Partners LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the April 6th, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z61 of 2020 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z72 of 2020, North Point Ministries Incorporated. This case was continued by the staff until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z72 of 2020 will not be heard today. ROD number 1 of 2020, Atlantic Realty Acquisitions LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So ROD 1 of 2020 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z1 of 2021, Curley Family Homes LLC. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z1 of 2021 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z3 of 2021, Darren Martin. This case was continued by the staff until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z3 of 2021 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z6 of 2021, Lloyd Development Services. This case was continued by the staff until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z6 of 2021 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z8 of 2021, Beazer Homes LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 2nd, 2021 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z8 of 2021 will not be heard today. And other business number 6 of 2021, D. Jornado Homes LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 16th, 2021 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So other business item number 6 of 2021 will not be heard today. Madam Chair, it's my understanding that 1 or 2 cases may have to be continued today. So let me see here.
Okay, what's the first case?
First case is other business item number 8 of 2021, David Pearson Communities Incorporated. We did get a letter yesterday about this, Madam Chair and Commissioners, and the applicant would like to meet with the person who wrote the letter and try to work things out. So the staff would ask the board to continue other business item number 8 of 2021 until your March hearing.
Okay, Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. Yes, I make a motion that we continue OB8 till the March BOC zoning.
All right, second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you. And John, the next case?
Okay. And with that, Madam Chair, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Okay.
Cobb County Board of Commissioners zoning hearing consent agenda for February 16th, 2021. First case on consent is rezoning case Z67 of 2020, Yolanda Crees. Request rezoning from LRO to NRC for a barber beauty shop in land lot 1006 of the 19th District. The property is located on the east side of Austell Road, north of Elmwood Drive. The Planning Commission recommends deletion to the LRC zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan received by the zoning division on January 22nd, 2021. Number 2, for beauty barber shop use only. Number 3, allowance for additional parking to meet county code requirements. Number 4, the 8-foot landscape enhancement strip adjacent to Austell Road right-of-way. Number 5, landscaping to be provided around the building. Number 6, landscaping plan to be submitted to the county landscape architect for approval. Number 7, enhancement strip and landscaping to be completed within 90 days of the Board of Commissioners zoning decision. Number 8, repairs on the building, fascia, windows, window trim, crawl space access to be completed within 90 days of the Board of Commissioners zoning decision. Number 9, parking lot to be added with at least 5 striped spaces to county standards. Number 10, parking plan to be approved by the zoning division manager. Number 11, no certificate of occupancy to be issued until all stipulations have been completed. Number 12, the district commissioner may approve minor modifications except for those that A, increase the overall building square footage, B, change that which is in conflict with an express stipulation or condition of zoning, and C, requires a variance or violates Cobb County ordinance. And number 13, staff comments and recommendations not otherwise in conflict. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z67?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Excuse me, John, as you scan the audience, how do we know if there's anyone remote who's opposed? Will that be provided when John reads the case? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and they have signed up ahead of time, Madam Chair, so we have a list of people who are opposed. And it's my
Okay.
understanding there's no one opposed to anything that's on consent right now. Right. Okay.
All right, great, thank you. Appreciate it.
Next case is rezoning case Z2 of 2021. Hector Hernandez Castillo requests a rezoning from NS to R15 for a single-family residence in land lots 638 and 695 of the 19th District. The property is located on the southwest side of Pear Road, southeast of the intersection of Pear Road and Powder Way. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the R15 zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan received by the zoning division on November 30th, 2020, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. Number 2, applicant shall have 60 days to come into compliance with the outdoor storage regulations. Number 3, stormwater management division comments and recommendations. Number 4, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. And number 5, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here in person opposed to rezone case Z2?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Rezoning case Z4 of 2021, Kenneth E. Moore requests rezoning from R20 and O&I to CRC for an office retail business in land lot 1019 of the 19th District. The property is located on the east side of Austell Powder Springs Road, east of the intersection of Austell Powder Springs Road and Smith Drive. The Planning Commission recommends deletion to the NRC zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan received by the zoning division on December 3rd, 2020, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. Number 2, letter of agreeable conditions from Mr. Garvis L. Sams Jr., dated January 29th, 2021. Number 3, the following applies to the property located at 4415 Austell Powder Springs Road. A, canopy to be repaired and painted or removed within 1 year of the final Board of Commissioners zoning decision. Number B, the fence at the front of the property, either on or near the new right-of-way, to be removed within 90 days of the final BOC zoning decision. C, garage doors be painted or replaced within 1 year of the final BOC zoning decision. Number 4, all signs that come into compliance with the current county ordinance within 60 days of the final BOC zoning decision. 5, variance as detailed in the zoning comments and recommendations. Number 6, revised stormwater management division comments and recommendations. Number 7, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. Number 8, revised Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Or number 8, number 9, 35-foot landscape buffer to be painted to be planted where possible along the eastern property lines. Number 10, property uses to be professional office or neighborhood retail uses only, with no outdoor storage and no outdoor displays of merchandise. And number 11, staff comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z4?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Rezoning case Z5, Simone A. Soares requests a rezoning from R20 and GC to R20 for a single-family residence in land lot 211 of the 20th District. The property is located on the west side of Lucy Drive, north of the intersection of Lucy Drive and Greer's Chapel Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the R20 zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan received by the zoning division on December 3rd, 2020, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. Number 2, stormwater management division comments and recommendations. Number 3, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. And number 4, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z5?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Rezoning case Z7 of 2021, John Gibson requests rezoning from GC to NRC for light automotive repair in land lot 85 of the 16th District. The property is located on the north side of Ecton Drive, the south side of Old Noonday Schoolhouse Road, west of Canton Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the NRC zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Number one, limitation on uses include the following: no massage business, no tattoo or body piercing, no pawn or title shop, no check cashing. All other NRC uses will comply with the NRC regulations. And number two, staff comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z7? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Moving into land use permits on the consent agenda, LUP 1 of 2021, Garfield McCook requests a temporary land use permit renewal for a personal care home in land lot 222 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Stylesboro Road, west of the intersection of Stylesboro Road and Alatoona Lane. The Planning Commission recommends approval of LUP 1 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number one, maximum of 10 residents. Number two, maintain turnaround capabilities of driveways so that vehicles can exit the property frontwards. Number three, no exterior signs. Number four, maintain all state and county required permits. Number five, maintain size of the lot as it currently exists. And number six, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 1? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. LUP 2 of 2021, Young S. Utosh requests a temporary land use permit renewal for clothing alterations and bridal gown sales in land lot 126 of the 20th District. The property is located on the east side of Kimberly Road, north of the intersection of Kimberly Road and Old 41 Highway. The Planning Commission recommends approval of LUP 2 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number one, maximum number of truck deliveries to be 1 per month. Number two, maximum number of customers to be no more than 2 per day by appointment only. Number three, inclusion on the consent agenda. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 2? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. LUP 3 of 2021, Living Hope Lutheran Church requests a temporary land use permit renewal for an early childhood learning center in land lot 201 of the 20th District. The property is located at the northwest intersection of MacDobbs Road and Stylesboro Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of LUP 3 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number one, site plan received by the Zoning Division on October 22nd, 2020, with the District Commissioner approving minor modifications. Number two, attached previously approved traffic flow plan. And number three, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 3? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. LUP 6 of 2021, Caitlin Castillo requests a temporary land use permit for a flower farm and sales in land lot 156 of the 1st District. The property is located on the north side of Sunset Trail, east of Bayless Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval of LUP 6 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number one, no sales from this location. Number two, no exterior signs. And number three, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 6? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. LUP 8 of 2021, Jeff Randall requests a temporary land use permit renewal to allow temporary occupancy of an RV in land lot 166 of the 16th District. The property is located on the southeast side of Remington Court, northeast of the intersection of Remington Court and Trickham Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of LUP 8 for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number one, family use only. Number two, mobile home to be removed once family use is not needed anymore. And number three, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 8? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And moving into other business items on the consent agenda. First one is other business item number 1 of 2021, which is to consider a site plan and stipulation amendment for Mr. Dennis Venzania regarding rezoning application Z56 of 2017. The property is located on the east side of Wiggly Road, north of Summertop Road, in land lot 46 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, site plan submitted December 2nd, 2020, with the District Commissioner approving minor changes. Number two, Fire Department comments contained in the other business packet. Number three, stormwater management comments contained in the other business packet. And number four, all previous stipulations not in conflict with this amendment to remain in effect. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 1?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 2 of 2021 is to consider a reduction of lot size for Value Plus Development, LLC, for property located on the north side of Poplar Springs Road and on the south side of Dallas Highway in land lots 80 of the 19th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan submitted January 5th, 2021 regarding lot sizes and access. Number 2, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. And number 3, setback along Poplar Springs Road to be 35 feet. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 2?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 3 of 2021 is to consider a reduction of lot size and public road frontage for Gary and Lorena Southern for property located at the southeastern intersection of Garrison Road and Carnes Drive in land lot 219 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan with variances as mentioned in the other business packet submitted January 6, 2021, with the district commissioner approving minor changes. Number 2, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. And number 3, water and sewer comments contained in the other business packet. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 3 of 2021?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 4 of 2021 is to consider a site plan and stipulation amendment for Duncan Land Investments regarding rezoning application Z39 of 2019 for property located in land lot 377 of the 16th District. The property is located on the northeastern side of Ebenezer Road at Shaw Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan for Lot 1 dated January 12, 2021, with the District Commissioner approving minor changes. Number 2, privacy fencing is not required adjacent to 1664 and 1670 Hampton Parks Bend. And number 3, all previous stipulations not in conflict to remain in effect. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 4 of 2021?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. And finally, other business item number 5 of 2021 is to consider a reduction of lot size for Edeline M. Amorum for property located at the southeastern intersection of Scott Drive and Scott Circle in land lot 1242 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan received January 7th, 2021, with the District Commissioner approving minor changes. And number 2, Cobb DOT comments. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 5 of 2021?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. And that completes the printed agenda for consent, Madam Chair and Commissioners.
Thank you, John. From correspondence I've seen via email, I don't know if there was consideration for any other matter to be put on consent.
There was consideration, Madam, pardon me, there was consideration for Z70 of 2021, Madam Chair. We do have one person signed up virtually who opposes it and wishes to speak on Z70.
They are not signed up. They have not signed in.
Okay, so there was one person earlier who was signed in, but they're not on the line now, apparently.
Okay.
Okay,
LB8's gone now.
that's now continued. For our county attorney, how do you perceive we should handle that? No problem, you're fine. The operative word is grace. Everything.
I appreciate it being extended. Thank you. If there's no one that's on opposition, they can go ahead and forward and hear it. Since it's on, it's up to the board. Since it's on a to-be-heard calendar, if you want to, you can go ahead and take care of the current consent calendar and then call it for the to-be-heard calendar. And if there's no opposition at that point in time, then you can hear it as a consent matter itself. Either way would be fine.
Okay, very good. So Commissioner Sheffield, did you hear that? We'll continue with.
Yes, I did.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so with that, I move that we approve the consent agenda as revised. Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Anyone who's here for consent, you're free to leave.
And Madam Chair, could we take a 5-minute break? Because I promised these folks I would email them, because there's a lot of them waiting in the parking lot right now. So we
Certainly.
can take a 5-minute break. and I email
No
them
problem
real
at all, yeah.
quick. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, welcome back. We are now moving into our continued cases that were held and that are to be heard.
Madam Chair, it's my understanding that the applicant for Z54 of 2020, Galaxy Children's Land LLC, would like to continue this case for one more 30-day period.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Richardson?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I motion,
You can make your motion, yes.
I motion to continue Z54 to the next Board of Commissioners meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Very good. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. The next case is rezoning case Z70 of 2020, CS Realty Group LLC. Request rezoning from R30 to R20 for a residential subdivision in land lot 507 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Gaydon Road, west of Old Lost Mountain Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here in person opposed to rezoning case Z70? Madam Chair and Board, there's no one here in person opposed to rezoning case Z70. We do have one person that we have picked up online that is opposed and would like to speak. So at that time, we'll recognize the opposition.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, the GIS. Yep. Take care of it. Yes, thank you. Perfect, thank you.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. Kevin Moore here on behalf of CS Realty, the applicant, in this application for rezoning. This is property that is 30 and a half acres, 30.5 acres, located on Gaydon Road. The application is to rezone this property from R30 to R20 for a total or a maximum of 44 homes. The property that you're seeing on your screen is from your GIS map, and you see it outlined there, and you see that it's R30. Just to the north of it, adjacent, is a large church that is off of Macklin Road. It is zoned R30. And just to the south of this property, across Gaydon Road, is the elementary school that's also zoned R30. So those are zoned R30, but they don't carry R30 residential uses. However, the surrounding area, as you can see, the subdivision that's immediately adjacent to us, on the left-hand side of your screen to the west is zoned R20 OSC. Immediately to the adjacent to us on the right-hand side of your screen is other tracts that are zoned R20, and even if you went even larger, the area has been developed largely as R20 along Gaydon Road and along and off of Macklin Road in this particular area is primarily zoned R20. I know that there is a Mrs. Reed that is on the phone, and hopefully she's listening. Hopefully I'll be able to answer some questions for her. We had extensive discussions. This was held from December when we were alerted to a group of about between 17 and 20 individuals that had emailed right before the Board of Commissioners hearing. And we worked with them, had several interactions with them, communications, and as well as a group meeting that we held by Zoom, and answered a lot of questions. In addition, we made several adjustments to our site plan that were a part of those discussions and with our adjacent neighbors as well. And I'll go through those with you, and hopefully she'll be able to see if any questions can be answered through that. But it's important, we think, too, as you look at this proposal as an R20 proposal, not as an R20 OSC, not as any other type of proposal, and that is this is for 44 homes, which is 1.44 units per acre. The adjacent R20 OSC, Thornton Township, is 1.76 units per acre. All the surrounding R20 and R20 OSC subdivisions that have been developed are all developed at 1.7 and above in terms of their densities, and what we're proposing is therefore less density and actually with larger lots than are allowed in our adjacent neighborhood. And I'll go over those with you as well as highlight some of the important points for you. And looking at this overall site plan, give you some orientation. This is Gaydon Road. So you have the elementary school that's immediately south of us here. This is the layout for the property for an R20 subdivision, which means all lots are a minimum of 20,000 square feet, or basically half an acre. And they are all single-family detached homes. You can see here is the R20 OSC Thornton Township subdivision that's adjacent to us. Under our OSC, those are lots that are allowed to be smaller than the minimum of 20,000 square feet, and those go down actually to 10,000 square feet in this location here, whereas we have larger lots and less density in this adjacent subdivision. In addition, we have provided for a minimum 40-foot perimeter buffer during construction and development, and that's shown on the plan here as we try to make sure that we're sensitive to our neighbors. The big issue that we had from a site plan or layout standpoint was the initial site plan had the detention pond area, large detention area located here. And so it was adjacent to these 4 or 5 homes located where I'm indicating here. And that's where that detention facility was located or planned to be located. Those individuals had talked to us, and we had spoken to them. They were very interested to see if we could relocate that detention. And obviously, relocating detention is difficult. That's an engineering matter. Water has to go downhill, so you want your detention located at your low point on the property. So we did some extensive engineering and hydrology, and we were able to relocate the detention to this upper left-hand corner of this site plan, so that it's not adjacent to any homes in this upper corner. It actually works now to discharge from a stormwater standpoint directly into a established drainage channel, which is a very small stream, but also almost a ditch as well, located here, and that immediately ties into that downstream channel. Also of concern to the folks that were living or that live in this neighborhood, through the years, they have experienced some stormwater issues where you have occasional ponding and water that collects in their rear yards. And in this area, with our stormwater management system that will now be in place, that will no longer occur. The stormwater that lands on this property currently and prior to any development tends to sheet flow in this direction towards that low point, which is here. So it drains in that direction unmanaged or uncontrolled, and that's why they're receiving water that occasionally ponds in these rear yards. With our plan, what we're required to do is catch all the stormwater, feeds it through the streets and the ponds and off the houses and in the lots directly to this pond where it's all collected, and then it is there discharged downstream. This has been reviewed by Cobb County Stormwater Management. They have made comments. We are in complete agreement with each and every one of their comments, and they believe they're in agreement with our plan as well for stormwater issues as well as location of that detention pond. In addition, one of the community concerns is here on Gaydon Road where our entrance is located. Per Cobb DOT, the best location for that entrance is to align with the entrance to the elementary school across the street. However, the community was of concern to make sure that that was a safe location and a safe place along Gaydon Road, because you do have folks and children that walk to school in this area. So what we have done is we engaged with Cobb DOT to make sure that what we are doing along this road provides for a safer environment than it is today. We will be installing a left-hand turn lane. We'll have a full deceleration lane as well as sidewalks, and more importantly, we'll also be installing additional signage along this section of Gaydon Road per Cobb County DOT comments and recommendations that provide further notice and alert to the fact that this is a school zone and to look out for pedestrians along this particular area. In terms of the home types that we are proposing, we have several attached to our stipulation letter, but I just want to show you one of those representative samples so that you can see the type of single-family home that will be built in this smaller subdivision of a maximum of 44 homes. You can certainly see the degree of quality that will be built in this single-family subdivision. This is in an area that has seen spotty development over the years, but What we hope is that this can continue in terms of building new single-family homes in neighborhoods for this particular area in Cobb County and do so in a quality manner. Again, we worked very closely with the community, the broader community here, as well as the adjacent subdivision to meet and address each and every concern that had been raised, including redesigning and doing pre-engineering on this subdivision so that we could relocate the detention pond, which was a huge concern of the immediately adjacent neighbors, as well as work with Cobb DOT hand in hand to make sure that we're providing a safer environment along Gaydon Road than it is today. This application was evaluated by your professional zoning staff and was recommended for approval. In addition, the Planning Commission heard this application in December and likewise recommended approval. This is consistent with your future land use plan. And again, I remind you, what we're proposing at 1.44 units per acre is a development that would be the lowest density development and subdivision in this immediate area. We think this is just an excellent example of looking at property and seeing what's surrounding this area and knowing that what's appropriate here is R20. What's appropriate is R20 with a minimum half-acre lot sizes and to do so in a quality manner and working with the community hand in hand. With that, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have and respectfully request your approval of this rezoning with our stipulation letter dated February 9th, consistent with the staff and Planning Commission's recommendations as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition?
We have one virtual participant, Ms. Green Reed. It is your turn to speak. You've been unmuted.
Oh,
Go ahead, we can hear you.
when you were looking at the plans, you see that we are the last house on the corner of the development. And that corner is where the detention, I'm sorry, I can't say it, pond would be. Before it was smaller, now it's much, much larger. And we were trying to figure out why the size increased. And I didn't get a chance to go back with the engineers to understand the logistics of it. But actually, you're putting it right in my backyard. There may be a buffer zone, but that pond is in my backyard. And when you look at the map, you look at our homes, you can see I'm right there at that corner. If you look directly at the map. And that's always been our problem. The water has to flow. I understand. They're going to build their homes. We understand that. We're just still concerned about that when I looked at the map, it's such a large space. It wasn't that large at first. And maybe he can address that. And it wasn't located there. Now it's located right in my backyard. That's all I can say. I don't know what you'll do about it. I can imagine sitting there looking at a pond. I don't know what a drainage pond even look like. The ones I've seen in the county, some of them are really very sad. They're awful. So maybe they could come up with something more aesthetic, environmental, pleasing. I'm not sure, but I just know it's in our backyard. And of course, we do have a problem with the water flow. And he said that it would correct some of our problems. And when you correct one problem, you seem like you end up with a new one. And the new one is a larger detention pond right in my backyard. Ma'am, that's all I can tell you. I don't know what else to say. I'm not a good speaker, but I just appreciate you listening to me. I have talked with the engineers, and they were very courteous, very kind. And I spoke with the lawyer, of course, very courteous, very kind. We're not trying to stop them from building because we can't do that. We just want to address the problem of having that detention pond. First, it's huge, and now it's it's larger than what it was. And I look at this community; it's really nice, but I see no playgrounds for children. I see no pavilion. I see no tennis court. Any community things that you would need in a community to make it a community. All I can see is they're building pretty homes, and that's it. Thank you for listening, Chairperson. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we appreciate you taking time to call in today. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Commissioner Sheffield.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, for starters, may I have the name of the woman that just spoke? I didn't catch her name.
Halperine Reed.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Reed. Okay. All right. Well, she obviously has a couple of concerns. One is the appearance, and two, the impact on the detention pond. So if I may have Kevin to come back up to the podium and just talk or address the issue of the difference in size. I'm looking at the plan, and I can't, on the original plan and the revised plan, and I can't determine how much larger, if at all, the new plan, how much larger the new pond is. So Kevin, if you can just kind of explain to us if the size has increased and why.
Certainly, Commissioner. To give everyone some context, I believe Ms. Reed lives in this house that's located approximately here. The detention pond previously had been located in this location on the other side of the small little creek creek that starts right here, a little small stream. It was located here, and now is located here. The size of the detention pond and detention facility is about the same. They're just oriented differently. Before it was much kind of longer and a little bit more narrow. Now it's more confined to this space, but the size of it is intentionally larger. And the reason is because what we're trying to do here is to make it more attractive, both for our residents and for any adjoining residents. With a larger detention pond, and especially the way this has been engineered and the way this property falls, what we're trying to do is make sure that we don't have a deep detention pond. This is intended to be a very, very shallow stormwater management facility, so that it's not deep, it doesn't have walls, it doesn't create that kind of hole in the ground that people can complain about, understandably. But this is created so that it has a good deal of room, so that it can be very shallow, be very grassed. In addition, we will be landscaping in full along the exterior of the detention pond, as well as it will be fenced, so that what any adjoining resident sees is simply is trees as part of a landscape buffer. Per our stipulation letter, per the conditions, as well as per requirements, that buffer, landscape planted buffer, has to provide for 100% visual screening within 2 years. So this is going to be heavily landscaped and buffered adjacent, as well as not be an unsightly hole. It's going to look more flat than it will be a pond in that true sense. But the size of it is actually not that much different than before. It's just oriented a little bit differently.
Okay. All right. And if we have Cobb DOT there, if we can speak to how the location of the detention pond will impact Ms. Halperine.
Hey, Commissioner Sheffield, can we ask stormwater to approach?
Yeah, I'm
versus
sorry,
DOT?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Is there anyone from Stormwater here today?
Is Carl on?
Yes, this is Carl Carver.
Good morning.
Good morning, Carl. If you can just share with us, so the detention pond has been repositioned, and it seems like it would be a greater impact to the home of the Ms. Halperin. If you can just share with us if she's going to be impacted, because it sounds like her concern is that the water may drain off to her property. But can you just share with us a little bit and kind of share with her how that's going to pan out?
Well, I think that with it in this location for her, there will be less sheet flow into her yard because the pond will be catching all the stormwater from the site. Also, to help the downstream system, the pond may be a little bit larger because we require them to design it to the capacity of the downstream system. So there's some over detention going on to will help alleviate runoff into their yards.
But there will be some, is what you're saying?
Probably very little compared to existing because they'll be berming up a little bit to do the landscaping adjacent to the property line. So they'll have to berm up some, and then the pond will be, there'll be less draining surface wise to their backyards, a lot less.
Okay. Okay, those were the only follow-up questions that I have. I'll turn it over to the other commissioners in the event you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheffield. Do any other commissioners have comments? Commissioner Burrow?
Can I address Mr. Moore?
Please.
Your stip letter, December 9th, is the site plan here the same as what you were just pointing out?
You should have a stip letter. The most updated one was February 9th,
Okay. That's fine.
and that one has the correct site plan.
Okay, but, okay, I'm not seeing that, but, your stip letter number 7 addresses the detention pond with a fence, 6 feet high, 10-foot landscape buffer.
That's correct,
Okay.
in full.
And that's still in place?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay.
Okay, let me see what she's saying. Are you done, Commissioner
done.
Burrow?
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yes, Commissioner Richardson?
Hi there. So just one more thing that was brought up in the opposing comment. Just wanted to know if there had been any consideration on the community center as a part of this development. Had there been considerations there?
Yes, I mean, the consideration for this development with only 44 homes is that if by the time you start to add extensive amenities like that, the 44 homes, it starts to put a fairly large burden on the homeowners association because there's not enough homes to support it. So the decision was made not to have that as a part of this. It's a 44 home, half-acre lot subdivision in a neighborhood and in an area that they felt was, will do very well with that. It just didn't need it, and it would put too much of a HOA burden for just 44 homes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gambrell?
Yes, thank you. So I'm guessing that's a blue line stream that we're seeing across the site plan?
That has been reviewed. It shows up on the GIS, but that has been now reviewed so that blue line stream doesn't actually come all the way across the property where we would have a buffer.
Okay.
It's been now located to where we show on the site plan.
Okay, because my concern is, we know water has flown through there. Are we going to have easements through various properties to get the water to the detention pond? Are you going to convey it through an underground system? How are you going to move the water from essentially the top of the development to the detention pond?
So the stormwater will, be caught in the stormwater pipes and system that'll be in the streets and the gutters, and all that is tied to that. It will go to the detention pond, and then it will discharge into that established the established channel there. There's not a need for an off-site easement for this.
So then you won't have easements going through various properties to get the water to flow to the detention pond?
No. The way he's designed this, all of that will run to the street and run from the street downhill to this detention pond.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Just to follow up with some of the concerns that I heard, the detention pond, you provided there'll be a buffer around the detention pond.
That's correct.
Yes, and I think the adjacent neighbor has some interest to be aesthetically pleasing from her view. Just would like for that to be a consideration for the applicant as that's addressed. Are you going to keep the existing trees, or is there going to be additional plantings?
These will be additional plantings to provide that screening.
Okay.
The trees that are there now won't provide screening in that location, but we'll be planting additional trees with the landscape plan as part of that.
Okay. And Commissioner Sheffield, I don't know what the specific language is around that buffer, but she has some concern that it just looks good from her property. I don't know if you can add in that buffer language that it be aesthetically pleasing from her, it's a subjective term, but sometimes in my buffer language in the past I've used so that there's a visual and aesthetic barrier. Between that property and
Well, in the stipulation letter, there's a 10-foot landscape buffer. Do we want to be specific?
And that may be specific. Yeah, you could say visual, just to address the aesthetics of that buffer.
Okay. Yeah, and that's already included in the special stip letter, item number 7.
Okay,
For visual screening, I just
perfect.
don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
If that's addressed, that's good. I just don't have that specific language. I'm looking at the
Okay.
stip letter here. Give me 1 second, Commissioner.
Okay, it's item number 7. I don't know, how specific and detailed we should get with respect to what's aesthetically pleasing to an individual.
Madam Chair, if I could interject to offer a potential solution that would, I think, might make Ms. Reed feel better and more
Yes.
confident and help with that specific issue. We're certainly agreeable to an additional zoning condition.
Okay.
That the final landscape plan be subject to district commissioner approval. And that way Commissioner
Okay.
Sheffield can, if she's willing to do that, but that way she can make sure that it's the type of landscape buffer that'll show all the trees and the number and so forth, so that that can provide another level of assurance for both Ms. Reed and Commissioner Sheffield, if that would be an acceptable additional condition.
Are you comfortable with that, Commissioner Sheffield?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
For our clerk, have you captured that, the addition of that stipulation? And we can add, you can add that in your motion when you make it, Commissioner Sheffield, for the addition of district commissioner approval of the landscape buffer.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Gamble has another question.
I have an additional question for Carl Carver, if he's still on.
I'm here.
Okay. I also noticed in the letter of stipulations that the detention area shall be maintained, the detention area shall be dedicated to Cobb County for future maintenance. Were you aware of this stipulation?
Yes, that's typical with a single-family residential, that the lot is dedicated to the county for our management and maintenance of the detention pond.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Burrow.
One comment. I had some subdivisions in my district that didn't have to come through zoning. They just developed a straight R20
Okay.
or whatever it was already zoned, and had a very unsightly detention pond with no trees or buffer around it. And so last year, we updated our development standards to address that.
The county development standards? Thank you, Commissioner.
So
Appreciate
that, but that's for, if they don't come through zoning, they
Yeah.
still have to meet certain requirements. And since this is through zoning, we can add additional steps.
Thank you, appreciate you providing that information, to know that the base standard has improved for detention ponds. Does anybody else have any additional questions or comments? Commissioner Sheffield, are you ready to make your motion?
I am.
Okay.
All right. I make a motion to approve Z70 with the following stipulations. One, that the letter from Kevin Moore dated February 9th, 2021 be added, but further with item number 7 in his special stipulation to include that the landscaping or the visual screening around the detention pond is to be approved by the district commissioner, which is myself,
Okay.
for the landscaping buffer. And also with special stipulation number 2, that the site plan dated January 25th, 2021, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. I approve with the condition and stipulation of water and sewer comments,
Okay.
fire and department comments, stormwater management comments, and Cobb DOT comments and recommendations to include the left turn lane into the subdivision, as well as the school zone and pedestrian signage coordinated with Cobb DOT. And that is my motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. May I add for those staff comments and recommendations to be included that are not otherwise in conflict?
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor, may you please raise your hand? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you,
Commissioners.
Kevin, and thank you, Commissioner Sheffield.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you all. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right.
Okay. Moving into land use permits now. LUP 4, John Lay requests a temporary land use permit to allow more adults and more vehicles than the code allows in land lots 155 and 156 of the 17th district. The property is located on the south side of Austell Circle, southeast of the intersection of Austell Circle and Austell Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here in person opposed to LUP 4? There's no one signed up. Okay, would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in? Let the record show there's no one here in person or online opposed to LUP 4.
Thank you, Commissioners, for hearing me this morning. I recently read that public speaking is more dreaded than death. I'm not quite that bad, but if I get to talking too fast, please let me know. I'll slow down. I think the variance should be approved for several reasons. One, the property has 8 bedrooms and 4 baths. The code allows for one person for 390 square feet. This house has 3,414. which allows 8.75 persons. Our tenants have limited income, and if not for this setup and low rent, many of them may be homeless. Some of them are on Social Security, some on disability. Our tenants have established relationships in our local area, their doctors and their other providers. We maintain the house in a clean and neat manner. The lawn's maintained twice a month. The maid service comes once a month. and we have a pest control company that services the property quarterly. We're maintaining this property with vinyl double-hung windows, a new roof, new heating and air units, new siding, fresh paint. To the best of my knowledge, of the 24 homes on this street, 13 are occupied by owners and 11 are rentals. So being a rental in this area is not out of hand. The Marietta Housing Authority has built next door to this property a housing development, the Adrian, for 55-plus residents. Our average resident is 59. There's also a multifamily project being across Austell Road. I'm not sure if it's townhomes, condos, or apartments, but you all may know. This is a quiet, affordable, safe, and convenient house which has become a home for our tenants. Many of the tenants have little or no contact with family, and we are de facto family with each other. Shared and community housing is good for people. Living alone is no longer affordable, but you still have to live somewhere independently. Creative living arrangements is better than living under a bridge. You're with other people. If an emergency arises, someone's there to call for help. And sharing a home is better than living alone. You do have to share a kitchen and laundry facilities, but everyone has their private bedroom. By sharing this home, our tenants are able to live indoors, eat healthy meals, and save some money. There are also social rewards to shared housing. Our tenants are easily able to visit with each other and sometimes share a meal. Everyone in our house knows it's a shared responsibility to keep the house clean and in good repair, and with a live-in manager, it's easy to report any repairs that's needed. The house is also quiet. No loud parties, no music, no overnight guests. And if I can respond to some of the things that were said at the Planning Commission meeting, this isn't a quote, but one of the commissioners stated the reason for this ordinance of only having 2 unrelated people in a house is to prevent many college students from living in one house, having noisy parties and disturbing the neighbors. In response to that, we don't have any college students. We have mature seniors. We've had no complaints with disturbing the peace, and 3 of our immediate neighbors have signed the consent of continuous landowners agreement. I'm not sure I pronounced that right, but you all know what I mean. And they have no concerns for the use of the property. The commissioner also stated that because of this ordinance, he recommended denial of our request for the variance. My understanding is that the whole reason for a variance is to get an exception to the rule of the ordinance. David, who made a statement at the hearing, owns rental property on the street but does not live in the neighborhood. I understand that Diane called the police on his renters more than once. As he stated, 8 or more cars were on the premises or on the street. I suggest it may have been some of the construction crew at the Adrian during construction or maintenance crews on my property, as we have recently installed new roofs, new siding, and had the house repainted. As I understand it, Diane is the 2nd highest complainer in Cobb County. And I wonder if the folks who sent in the letters might have been under duress from hoping that she would leave them alone. If having 5 cars in an uncovered area is the issue, I can easily widen the drive and add a carport beside the house that would accommodate 2 additional cars on the parking pad. Thank you for understanding, and thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions.
Thank you. We're going to go to the commissioner, and she will let you know if she has any questions, followed by commissioners. There's no opposition? Okay. With that, I apologize. Is this in your district, Commissioner Gamble? Go ahead, Commissioner Gamble.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. While I understand what is happening here, we also have to remember the fact that this is a single-family home. It is not an apartment. It is not regulated. It is not a hotel that is subject to other rules. So therefore, it is a single-family home, and we do have code that addresses the number of people that can reside within the single-family home. So with that, I will make my motion to deny LUP 4 with the conditions that the applicant has 90 days to come into compliance.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I'll offer some discussion on the matter. Commissioner Gamble is right. Our single-family code does have certain elements of it to preserve a single-family nature of our single-family residences. Our land use permit, however, does provide opportunity for us to consider, as the term is used, some variance from that, some change on a case-by-case basis. So while there's an overarching desire for us to follow what we have in our code for single-family homes, there is also an ability for us to consider the uniqueness of what's going on with a particular residence. This is something that we've talked about as a board, about how this single-family restriction has been challenged by a couple of things. I think has been challenged by our short-term rentals, where we have a lot of people coming in and out of homes, but I also think it's being challenged by the pandemic and looking at affordable housing and how people do have the ability to live in Cobb County with the way that the cost of homes are going. It would be one thing to come in for the land use permit without being part of the code enforcement process, but the reason that this is before us is not, because you sought that, and you may not have known you needed a land use permit, but the actual activity at that home was actually troubling to a resident. And, that's why we do look at this on a case-by-case basis, because we want to see, is the way somebody using that property, if we gave them the exception, what's the impact to surrounding residents? And I believe Diane, as you stated, who lives there, she had a valid code enforcement complaint. I sympathize for those who are looking for affordable housing. I truly do. If this wasn't part of a code enforcement issue, perhaps I'd be more amenable to changing it. And if the commissioner, looked at moderating your request, perhaps not allowing 8 people but less than that, because I do know the reality is there are going to be a lot of people who may fall under this circumstance because of the times that we're in. But I do believe 8 unrelated people in a home is excessive. The code enforcement comment specifically stated it looks like it's a boarding house. And I don't believe that it's fair for somebody who lives in a single-family home to have to live next to what they perceive to be as a boarding house. So I sympathize with those who are looking for affordable housing. Me, personally, I could support less people, Commissioner, as opposed to just specifically abiding by what the code says, but I can't support 8 and 4. Yeah. Commissioner Burrow, yes, I'm sorry.
We do have a lot of these, and they're not always just college students. In my district, they're mostly college students. But if we allow this to go against our code, we're setting a precedent. And the next person that wants to do this can come in and refer to this case. I've always had a problem with more than 2 unrelated, or a family and 1 unrelated, as the code reads now, and the number of cars. They've got more than 4 cars outside. So I can't support this.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Richardson.
Yeah, just to reiterate some of the points that are brought up here, I think there is a strong sympathy when it comes to affordable housing and options, especially as we go through this pandemic, and more are seeing themselves in dire straits. And I think each of us have expressed our opinion with regards to the more than 2 unrelated persons code. And I think it is worthwhile that we really do take a deep consideration on what that means. If it means that there are special classifications when you do have more residents that can be applied for under certain circumstances. But this would be an example of to Commissioner Gambrell's point, it's not regulated in order to make sure that the conditions are even satisfactory for having 8 stay in a single-family home. And it's hard to regulate that if we don't provide any guidance along those lines. So that would be my commentary on this.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sheffield, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, and I'll simply weigh in to echo the sentiment. And my issue in approving it is that, you know, on the one hand, we may allow someone 7 to 8 people in a home, but we have others who can't have, you know, more than 2 or 3 unrelated people in their home as well. And I just think that it is setting a bad precedent, and I understand that each case is considered individually based on those circumstances, but this is one that I would not support either.
Thank you. All right, and I support that, and I just want us to be careful in totally ruling out why we have the land use permit, because the land use permit is there for exceptions. So, I mean, every land use permit sets a precedent, but it's there for a reason, recognizing that there can be specific cases where it's considered differently. I just don't think this is the case that,
Right.
you know, should prompt us to move the needle on that. Oh, Commissioner Gambrell, yeah. You made your motion,
Yeah, we
right?
had-
And there was
I
a
had
second, and we're
comments.
discussing. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of opposing this land use permit, please raise your hand.
Denied.
The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner.
And they have 90 days to come
Okay.
into compliance.
Moving on to the
Thank you. Commissioner Gambrell, Commissioner Brawl asked for clarification on the 90 days. Yeah.
I had given him 120 days.
Okay.
As was the recommendation by the Planning Commission.
And unfortunately,
Oh,
sir,
okay.
this wouldn't be
It was 90.
appropriate as a time to ask, are you okay if he has a clarifying question? Commissioner Gambrell?
I think the planning commission
Commissioner
gave him 90
Gambrell.
days.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She said
Thank you,
no.
John, you are correct. It is 90 days. I'm sorry, thank you for that correction. So there's 90 days to come into compliance.
The applicant, are you? Sir, yes, you may approach, sir. Yeah.
My understanding is that there is a hold on evictions in Cobb County, so I can ask these people to move, but what recourse do I have if Cobb County won't enforce an eviction?
Interesting. Yes, I would just ask you to, you can confer with our county attorney office. Bill.
He would need to consult with his private attorney, whoever would
private
represent
attorney.
him in that action. I would not be able to guide or
thank
give him
you.
legal advice regarding that.
Okay.
Thank you all for hearing me.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. With that, we can move on.
Thank you. LUP 7, Douglas Rohan, request a temporary land use permit to allow temporary occupancy of an RV in land lot 979 of the 16th district. The property is located on the southeast side of Nantucket Drive, west of Hidden Hollow Drive. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here in person opposed to LUP 7? No. Madam Chair and Board, there's no one here opposed either virtually or in person for LUP 7, and the applicant is present.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you all today?
Good.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I debated whether or not to withdraw this application versus come in and make sure we have a discussion on it. After our last Planning Commission meeting, we did talk to our builder, and we did take into consideration their recommendations. We have confirmed that the builder is okay with us leaving the trailer on the driveway on the parking pad, so it will be in compliance with what I understand to be the codes, and that is that the trailer will be on the paved surface of the driveway. But again, just an alternative to withdrawing that application, I just wanted to make sure I was here to answer any questions. I do believe that 2 houses will provide sufficient cover for that from the neighbors. Additionally, our application shows that all of our neighbors are in approval of our original plan, which was to put it in the front yard. So I'm certain that they will be happy to have us tuck it back between the houses out of sight, and would not anticipate there being any objection, also having none here today to voice their opinion. The only other thing I wanted to add was that I did have several conversations with the East Cobb Civic Association, and as I mentioned at that last hearing, I greatly appreciate them. I certainly, one of the reasons I love living in East Cobb is because there is somebody out there to say, why are you putting a trailer in your front yard? So I appreciated that. What I did not appreciate was that they never ultimately communicated with me their position or conclusion, and so as a result, I didn't have time to take that into consideration at the last Planning Commission meeting. I don't know if there's a requirement that an objection be filed with the applicant prior to the meeting, but just wanted to bring that to your attention in case that was the case. I was never notified of their ultimate objection prior to the last meeting. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson?
Well, that makes things a little bit easier. I did have prepared remarks, but with that option available, I would definitely recommend taking up that option.
Great, thank you.
Okay, are you prepared to make a motion?
So do I motion to remove?
You would move? You would move.
No,
Motion and move, you would just.
I'm saying to remove it from, because he's saying he can follow by putting it on.
You can add that as a condition.
Well, it's my understanding-
You can add his recommendation as a condition.
It's
So-
my understanding he's withdrawing the motion, or
Right.
withdrawing.
Exactly.
So long as
Are you
the
with-
attorney agrees that I am
Oh,
within my
you're-
right as a
Exactly.
homeowner to put
Okay,
the
let's-
trailer
Okay,
on
let's get some
park.
clarification from the county attorney then. So is the land use permit no longer needed if he parks on the driveway?
It is needed.
Still would be
It
needed.
is.
Okay, in that case, then I would modify my application to request the land use permit to extend to us the ability to park that trailer on the parking pad between the houses out of sight, as requested by the East Cobb Civic Association.
Motion to approve with the recommendation or with the change as suggested by the applicant.
Very good.
Second, and I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
Is this lot for 1 year or till the remodel's done or what?
You can answer that question.
I anticipate this to be a 5-month project. My application was originally for 6 months. I do assure the board that with 3 teenage daughters, I will want to be out of that trailer as quickly as possible, and we don't anticipate extending that any more than absolutely necessary.
Okay, so can we do lots for 6 months? Because I thought we did 1 year and 2 years. Okay.
So Commissioner, you want to add that condition as well, the time condition for the request?
It's a part of the application. Do I, okay. With the stipulation that it is up to 6 months.
Okay.
And the owner would
So I will
accept that
second the-
stipulation.
What's that?
The owner would accept that stipulation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will second the revised motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any further discussion?
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead, Commissioner Burrow.
She's just adding to her original motion, right?
Yes.
And I'm good with amending that as the original second, but it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm good.
I just want to be clear from either zoning or our county attorney that the motion is to approve LUP 7 with the conditions. But don't let me reiterate a new motion. I want to make sure that the motion that's been stated is the motion that stands before we move forward.
Correct. My understanding is the application now is for it to be, the application itself is for it to be 6 months. He has now revised it for that he would be parking on his driveway in between a particular location. We can identify that more specifically if we need be. Could you say where exactly that it is?
It is the driveway of the residence of 3498, and it will be at the end of the driveway as opposed to the street side of the driveway.
So that's clarifying, but that's not modifying the motion. We
Yeah.
had a second for the motion, and we asked for further discussion. We had further discussion. I think I'm ready to call the question. If you're in favor, if you can raise your hand, please. All right, so the motion passes 5-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And that completes your printed agenda, Madam Chair. The county attorney does have one piece of business for the board to consider.
Okay.
Board, if you may, during this time, during the pandemic, we have been modifying our rules to adjust to virtual participation. At the last meeting, we did that for the February meeting today. I would just suggest, if for the board to continue this modification, that I would submit a motion for that. We can do it for both the March and the April meeting. That allows zoning to be able to make the proper modifications to the meeting schedule, also IS to be here for them to put up the notices for that. That's your pleasure. I can offer that as a motion and then be adopted.
All right, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And I'll read specifically what we've been doing before, if I may. I suggest that because of the unprecedented circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic, that you make the following changes to your zoning meeting rules for March and April 2021 for the Board of Commissioners zoning meeting. First, that BOC staff and citizens are allowed to participate in the meeting virtually. BOC members can vote by voice or by hand signal. Persons wishing to be counted as either in favor or in opposition to an application will be recognized in a number of persons provided by the board. Persons who wish to speak virtually in favor or in opposition to an application will be identified themselves according to IS technical staff for participation during the presentation of the application. And persons who speak virtually will acknowledge and affirm that his or her testimony before the BOC is under oath and to be truthful. Otherwise, the BOC zoning meeting rules will apply except as modified during the normal course of the meeting.
All right. Does the motion still stand before you describe
Yeah.
your motion? Okay, very good. We had a motion, a second. All those in favor, you raise your hand. All right, the motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
you. Okay, this concludes our zoning hearing. Thank you.